Okay, Spacers, this is a look at the new Artemis 2.3, which is out. It's not complete, I don't think, but it's great that we get a chance to play with it because it's got carriers in and fighters and stuff, which is something we've been waiting for quite a long time. So this is a new carrier. It's got the more traditional turnstile navy sort of circular saucer section, but the rest of the ship is completely different. I'm not quite sure about the fluorescent orange. I guess this is like the party ship or something. But it handles, it's pretty good. I mean, it looks good on the weapons, helms, and science screens, as well as engineering. Maneuverability wise, it's a lot like one of the larger ships, which is what you'd expect. It's pretty slow and clunky. In terms of weapons, it's very similar to a scout, except for the fact you get a nuke, which you can use. Yep, so that's the actual carrier. Obviously, the main thing about the carrier is the fact that she carries fighters. As far as I can see, none of the other ships actually have fighters, only this one here. In combat, like I said, it handles very similar to a scout. So, if you boost your beams and stuff, you can, whittle stuff down. One of the cool improvements or fixes on this version, as you can see, is on manual targeting. You can now, again, target systems other than weapons for the enemies, like maneuvering, propulsion, and weapons there. Which is good. I mean, it gives you more options when you're in combat. Lower difficulty as well, the ship handles very well. But the main thing that people are particularly interested in is the actual fighters themselves. Now the fighters, they look alright, they're pretty good, and they've got sort of matching orangey bits to them, so you sort of match the carriers. They're very, very maneuverable, and you can control them either with a joystick or with the actual keyboard. In this case, I'm controlling it with the keyboard, which is good because I haven't had a joystick since Wing Commander came out, which is a long time ago. One interesting inclusion on the fighter screen is this little game of 21, which you can play down here, which is you can play when you're waiting to do something. And you can also learn from this that I'm terrible at the game and I should never ever gamble. In this case, you can see over here with the fighters you can launch. You can actually launch one at a time or launch all of them in one go. And the fighter screen looks exactly like this. That's so you can maneuver around. You do kind of get shields, I suppose. When your shields go down, though, you instantly destroy it. That's it. One thing that I couldn't get to work, though, is targeting drones, which you'd think is an important aspect of using a fighter, is shooting down drones. Yeah, apparently they can't do that. Maybe that's something to come out later. Except for one, I accidentally managed to destroy a drone which flew into my own beams. But, that was a fluke. I don't think that was intentional. In lower difficulties, the fighter can actually pretty much hold its own, actually. It's slow. The homings don't actually lock on. You've got to wait for the reticle to flash and then you launch them. But on the lower difficulty settings, you can just beam stuff. So the beam sound is a bit weird, and it takes a long time, so let's speed this up. But yeah, the sound's a bit strange, but over time you can just sit there and pulverize them, and you can destroy them this way. If you try this on a much higher difficulty setting, though, your ships quickly get overwhelmed and loaded up. Although if you had multiple ships and all those beams joined together, that does add up to a pretty respectable damage per second. But in this case, we're just using one individual ship, which goes like this. Pop, 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 pop. And then, you take a break, it takes some time, and they blow up. Any second now. There you go, just like that. On higher difficulties, if you only have one ship, you're better off using the fighters more for like kiting. Get them to attack the enemy first, so the enemy will then focus on the fighter, allowing the carrier or any other ships in the vicinity to close in and destroy it without being attacked. You get about a minute to do that, but if you're boosting beams, that's more than sufficient. Especially to take out a single ship like a Scarran. Fleets, maybe not, but then you can just rinse and repeat. If you are going to do it this way, it's ideal. Normally a good idea to still keep on taking out the beams because it just takes the heat off of your fighter, which can then come back and dock. But if you're using multiple fighters, if you think about it, each one has 3 homing. Launch 3 fighters, that's the equivalent of a nuke, although it only affects one ship. So in this example, though, I'm going to fly them one at a time. Fly out, fire your nukes, fire your homing, 3 homings, come out, fire another 3 homings, come out, fire another 3 homings. That's a nuke, that'll take out most stuff. If the carrier opens with firing one of its EMPs, that's basically the same as an EMP nuke combo. And obviously if you have multiple player fighters, that would work too. So yeah, that's 2.3. It had a few stability issues, but considering it's new and it's just out, that's pretty good. Have a play of it, it's fun.